And he, out of nowhere, said, back in the day, I'd have been up you like a rat up a drain pipe. Now I'm a changed man. In fact, my disability means I'm practically a virgin again.
This is Gina Aberlins, who was sexually harassed by prominent theatre director Max Stafford Clark at theatre company Out of Joint, where they both worked. After investigation, he was made to leave the company. For years, women have been fighting against gender discrimination, including sexual harassment experienced by women like Gina. But a shift in recent years has seen these issues brought to the forefront of mainstream media. After accusations of sexual assault against Hollywood producer Harvey Weinstein flooded the news, actress Alyssa Milano tweeted for women to use the hashtag #MeToo if they had also experienced sexual harassment or assault. The replies were in their millions, and the era of Me Too began. Gina's story was picked up by The Guardian following this rise of the Me Too movement. She has since received praise for her actions, including an award that recognised her bravery.
The words Me Too, no grey area, before any of those things were part of our DNA, which they now are. An extraordinarily brave woman, Gina, decided that she had had enough.
So however small a mark any woman feels she is making in speaking out against harassment, know that our freedom of speech is something many women only dream of. It is those women we must fight to vindicate.
However, not everyone has been so understanding.
There has been a little bit of negative feedback. At the time, I had a number of trolls on Twitter, only a few, and they were actually across the board middle-aged women. Saying that I should have laughed it off and I should have just seen it as a joke and he's a harmless old man. In fact, there was an article written, and this article online written by a woman was saying that, are we supposed to be afraid of old men right now? Which she'd completely missed the point of. I wasn't afraid of him. It was that he was abusing his power, and that abuse of power making me feel uncomfortable and feel objectified and sexualised in a workplace environment. That is the thing that's not acceptable. I'm not afraid of an old man. What I completely disagree with, though, is being made to feel like a sexual object when I'm trying to do my job that I'm paid for.
The Me Too movement was originally founded by activist Tarana Burke in 2006.
I pulled out a piece of paper and I wrote Me Too on the top of it.
She highlighted the difficulties women have in coming forward and pointed out that situations can differ greatly. Gina said that the success of her own situation may have been driven by a number of circumstances.
I was incredibly brave and in saying something, and there are a lot of factors that made me do this, and there were a lot of factors that I think that made them stand up. I think perhaps had that director been quite a lot younger, maybe they wouldn't have done something, but because he was past retirement age anyway, I think they perhaps that was an extra added push for them to do the right thing.
Max Stafford Clark was into his 70s at the time and may represent a previous generation's now outdated behaviour. But 19-year-old Andrew has seen firsthand derogatory comments made about girls, similar to the ones Gina heard in the workplace.
I remember I had one friend who referred to a party that he'd been to, and he said that there was so much horny minge at this party I was at. At the time when I was like 16, I didn't think too much of it, but looking back on it, it was actually a really odd and not a nice thing to say at all, just like about girls in general. It's like reducing them to only a vagina rather than to being an individual.
To tackle this inappropriate behaviour, Gina has started her own company, Spark, that runs gender equality workshops in schools.
Stand Up Speak Out is designed to give young people the opportunity to explore issues around gender inequality in society and in the media through performance.
But after talking to others about her own experience, Gina knows that there is a long way to go.
I do know for a fact, because I speak to a lot of people about things like this, and a lot of people say, how brave, that's so wonderful, I was so inspired, I wish I could be as brave as you, but I don't think I would have been. And that in itself kind of speaks volumes. I think that it is really important that we have Me Too, and in terms of the visibility of that, we're making a change and we're working towards change and we won't stand for this any longer, I think that it makes it incredibly important.
So what more is being done to resolve these issues? Since the Me Too movement reignited, protesting has been as prevalent as ever.
Women are really getting a raw deal.
The women's strike in Leeds has brought people together to express their frustrations with a range of women's issues. So what has brought participants along today?
I live at home in more of like a rural area, and there's absolutely none of this. Like none of this would happen, and I don't know if I would know about it.
I think it's really important for men to be involved in things like this because women can't. The women won't be able to change things. Well, they probably can do it on their own, but I think they need more. There's more power in numbers.
Obviously, it's a conversation that we need to keep having. No one deserves to be excluded. If you're a reasonable person, then you deserve to have a voice, and you deserve to be included. And diversity is great.
So while the crowd appeared to be enthusiastic about making change, one onlooker made his views very clear.
Like this and kind of in general.
Fuck right in a pussy.
This man's language mirrors what we've heard before and could reflect wider negative attitudes about feminism. But at the Pankhurst Centre in Manchester, women's activism is celebrated, from the suffragette movement to modern-day marches. Volunteer Laura Blakely believes that disruptive acts, such as that made by the intruder at the march, are counterproductive in making change.
I think actually that division is part of a bigger picture. So really, adults should be able to debate about things, really important things, without becoming aggressive or violent. It should be a basic skill that you can learn. You can become passionate, but you don't have to be aggressive.
Since the growth of the Me Too movement, Laura has seen more people show an interest in women's issues and are keen to educate themselves further.
There was a period when it was uncool to say you were a feminist, and now places like the Pankhurst Centre are getting more and more young people, men and women, boys and girls, who are coming through and saying, yeah, actually, I do identify as a feminist. This is something that I believe in. The people who came before us laid down the foundations of everything we can do today. So to just, provide a memorial to them is brilliant in its own right, but then to build on what they did, which you can do through places like museums, is just paramount to carrying on.
But while enthusiasm and activism burn on, Gina still sees resistance to this movement.
Generally, the younger generations are very much pro-Me Too and understanding of that. But sometimes you do get the odd minority who, whether it be through parenting or friendship groups or whatever, don't quite understand it. I run workshops in schools with boys and girls in state schools across London, and it really varies. Sometimes you do get largely teenage boys who don't understand it at all and still think that feminism means that you're a man-hater and wish all men would die and things like that. And I think that's it's a natural push against the change. As people, we don't like change, we don't want change, we like the norm, we like the status quo, and when something shakes that, our natural response, unless we're actively trying to make that change, our natural response is no, let's keep things as they are.
But why do some boys feel this way? Andrew explains why he thinks some boys have misconceptions about feminism.
I think that the Me Too movement, although it is a good thing, a lot of young men, they do feel sort of victimised by it, and I think it's just because it really did come out of nowhere and it's completely different to what they've been led to believe. A lot of them just think that feminism is man-hating because they're pushing women up, but they see it as putting men down.
For there to be real change, Andrew believes boys need to have an awareness of women's issues.
It needs to be more inclusion for boys in feminism, I think, because it's not about them being negative about it. It's more they just need to be educated from an earlier stage.
So what is the consensus? Is Me Too creating new waves of change, or is it rocking the boat too much?
I think Me Too and other hashtags, they do create a more accepting environment. I think they encourage people, I think they give them that kind of strength and that sense of unity and community. They feel that they are supported.
Gina is now looking forward positively towards the future.
I feel really hopeful, actually, for the future of gender equality. I feel like the generations that I'm working with in schools now, I work a lot with young people, I think it is looking much more positive. I mean, who knows what is going to happen, what other movements, what is going to change in terms of the country and leadership and the world in general. But I feel like there is more of an awareness slowly amongst young people today of these things. And I'm hoping that means that equality in 20 years' time, say, will hopefully be a lot better than it is now.